So here's an opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. Please go ahead. We have a short time, 15-20 minutes, and after that comes the lunch break, and we try to keep the schedule. Anyway, if not, there are no questions from the audience. Yes, sorry, please come in.
I think this mic is for the questions, right? Yeah. Yeah, my question is for Dušan. I was very delighted to see the culture strike that you put up on the screen. I hadn't heard of it, so thank you for bringing it up. I wanted to ask you to tell us maybe a little bit more about how, I mean, organizing art workers has been compared to herding cats, right? It's like impossible. We know that there's the historical example of the International Artist Strike by Đorđević that never realized anything. So how did people manage to get together? How does the organizing work? What does striking mean? Striking from what? I mean, you're still here doing your work, so what does this mean?
Yes, so I have to say, like, first of all, I'm really on the sidelines of the organizing behind this. I also live mostly abroad. I visit from time to time Bratislava in Slovakia, and there are lots of my colleagues, friends who are much more directly involved. Also, the colleague from this other project, Ivana Rumanová. But I think yes. So a year ago there was a change of government, and then people who were in charge for, I think, 3 full periods during the 2010s. They got back to power and literally out of prisons. So, like, lots of their accomplices and collaborators who during the previous 2-3 years were facing charges, and some of them really ended up in prisons, where suddenly the laws were changed in a way that they were basically accused, allowed. I mean, it's like nothing happened. So this was for, I mean, not only affected the culture sector, but obviously whole society, and also the laws were changed in a way that even like the small shops are facing so much crime. So people now, I think if you steal something up to, I'm not sure, 700 euro, you face a fine of, I think, 50 euro or something like that. So it's like on really kind of on the street level, you could really experience like these really depressing changes that are happening. And I think there were many. I mean, the minister. Well, there's this one small party. The government has 3. One, the tiniest one, called Slovak National Party, became kind of a gathering of really, I mean, individuals who would, I mean, who should not have these political jobs. I mean, they're really incompetent, and they're also really using misinformation as disinformation as a working method. So they're like really flat Earth theorists in charge of Ministry of Culture, like literally, like this kind of a shed. Well, he's always kind of, there is a female Prime Minister of Culture, but he's kind of. Was then revealed that a lot of decisions are made by him, and then he literally, in a kind of a TV debate, said, "Okay, how can you know that the flat is not round if you were not in space, and so it is round?" And things like that. And there are also very direct attacks to LGBTI community. They are stripped of any funding, like openly, and this kind of thing. So, of course, like a whole culture scene was really appalled. But I mean, it was nothing like this last 20 years, maybe, okay, late 90s, it was, see, the situation is sometimes compared to it. But I don't want to talk too long. I think it was mostly like this, also this rapid change that made people, like that mobilized people, and then it was really possible to bring us together to the streets, but also on platforms where relatively naturally different working groups were kind of self-formated, in charge of different things around this movement, and this was early this year. And then from here, there was a few steps towards kind of formalizing this organization under the banner of open culture, otvorná kultúra, OK. The designers, I think design has a very crucial part in it. It has been good graphic design, good outreach on social media, and really well, it's very well communicated, all the demands and all the, I mean, also commentary on ongoing things happening in politics and culture. So I think it was not as drastic as this since 90s, so I think this was probably the main reason why it was possible to organize so many people together.
I think maybe I will keep it more as a comment or a wish, and hope that we have longer, like more space for discussions over wine. I would really love to see basically Sanja's research appear in Monoskop and start to look at these mappings. So that's something I would love to see happen, because I think those like different practices in these histories are useful in today in looking at how, what is an East-East connection, what is East-West, and what are the results.
I actually published those visualizations open access, so I can send you a link you can explore. Yeah, and anyway, yeah, for the 90s, early 2000s, but probably it's the same today if I go what Flora said in the beginning. I mean, most of the connections, if we exclude the directors and personnel of the storage centers, was basically made always in Western Europe. It was always people gathered around biennials, documenta, etc., because there was just no money, you know, to foster inter-regional collaboration, you know, or very scarce money.
Yeah, I have a question for Ágnes. Thanks a lot for your really interesting contribution. It was obviously also a question for the organizers of the event. The simple question, if you are talking about the crisis, do you prolong it, or do you intensify it, or do you have the possibility by critiquing the crisis to maybe overcome it, or and so the whole crisis, let's say, discourse is already, of course, put in doubt, at least through us, and also, of course, it is made in a way not redundant, but maybe brought to a next level by talking about permanent crisis, which is so obvious a contradiction in terms, because crisis is a short moment, at least in the traditional definition, and so permanent crisis is kind of the end of that discourse. So I'm very curious about your response.
Thank you. The question here. This would be good to finish my text, but I couldn't. So my speech is going to the conclusion that crisis is also permanent crisis as a kind of state of mind. It's a kind of disempowerment. And obviously bad tendencies around us. I'm not questioning this. But how we think about ourselves, or competence, or power, or the energies we have in us, and we can act like through our energies or power, is something that we forget about. So I don't like this state of mind of crisis, because it's kind of make you numb, make you feel like you can't do anything. And I just want to question the whole narrative around us that we can't do nothing about it. It's a kind of inevitabilism in it also, which what we're talking about. So I hope we can publish this text, the whole thing we contributed there, because my text is concluding that what we think about power. Power is only a thing we can direct our actions against, or we also have it and try to find out how we can act. This is a more important question, this all. And yes, the problem is that this notion how it's used in politics or political theory or social theory or in the media is very different, and there is consequences about this.
So I have maybe a technical question for Ágnes and Sanja, maybe Dušan. I am from Slovakia, I'm an artist in Slovakia, and the question is, for a lot of us, is what do we do with institutions that are slowly taken over? Some people choose to leave immediately, some people try to change the regime from the inside. I think what Sanja is showing is actually the importance of institutions, and you also, Ágnes, talk about power. So I'm curious if what would be your advice? I don't want you a definite advice, but what are the lineages you were thinking, whether to leave the institutions immediately as the regime is starting to take it over, or there is some possibility to kind of sustain and fight back from the inside?
I think you don't give up the institutions, so it's the strategic thinking about it. So keep as you can and as the way you find it. I think it was the best strategy in Hungary that we just protest in a way that we give up our agency in our institutions. This is my personal point of view. We can discuss it, or you don't have to agree, but I think those institutions can work, because there's always another guy who take your job and much more, loyal to the government. It's not so hard to find these guys. So if you can keep the position and work. That's it. That maybe sounds very, very disillusioned, but that's how I think.
I'm lucky you didn't ask for any solutions, because I don't have any, of course. I'm also not for giving up on the institutions, obviously. But just you mentioned in Zagreb, we have like completely different political processes than that you have here and in Bratislava, obviously. On a national level, we have been dealing with the right wing, of course, from the early 90s mostly, or the liberals, who were not much different. But then on the local level in Zagreb, we have the left party that won over like 3 years ago. Hopefully they will get another term, and then with them taking over in Zagreb, we have been actually taking back our institutions from the corrupt government, like by appointing directors who are actually trying to connect the institutions, etc., etc. But then on another level, I'm also thinking not only about the public institutions, I'm also thinking about the independent scene, which is why I don't want to talk about the 2000s yet, because they are also, of course, still in precarious positions. But I think we also need to think about, if I talk in network language, about the relations, what kind of relations are formed between the participants in the art scene, and if they are really egalitarian, emancipatory, etc., etc. So yeah, this is an open question, of course.
If I may answer to Anders' question, because I have some practice in this. So I would say that it's an important question, but it's not a yes or no question. So simply, I agree with Ágnes until a certain point, but I have to emphasize that we have to use time to time in a certain moment to power of leaving and staying up and not going into unnecessary fight. But there is no firm definition. Where is this point? It differs from institution to situation, and that's what I can say from experience. Yes, maybe one more question. If not, that's perfect. Oh yes, come.
Dušan, there was almost a throwaway thing that really caught my ear in your presentation about people switching between their identities of organizers and artists. And is it a productive way to frame these things as identities and not as skills, maybe? Because there is also what you mentioned in your answer, that there is an active attack on LGBTQ people in your country, and I don't know how this question is forming up, if it does, but what do we do with skills and identities, and how do we broaden our solidarity to include more and more people?
Yeah, it's a big question. I'm not sure if I have any productive answers to that, but yes, I think it's also a legacy of the previous times when artists were more kind of secluded from society and really doing kind of this DIY. And I'm not sure if I used the word identities. Maybe I meant roles, really. Also in the way how visual art is being viewed and also historicized. So there is so much attention to this work of individual artists in terms of showing in exhibitions, maybe also, I mean, not only, and mostly this other work, invisible work around the visual art is being made invisible. But I think it's really crucial and to many artists even central to their practice. So I think this is also, I think, art historical really issue, and I think I wouldn't. Yeah, so there is this idea of de-skilling from like 70s onwards and so on, when we just do everything without really being good in it. But this is also not what I mean. It's obviously happening, so it's unavoidable. But I think it's really also a way to see or like be in the process from really different perspectives and understanding these perspectives as an organizer of event and then host to event, or curator exhibition and then artist to an exhibition, to see both, to see these kind of practices from more sides.
If I may add a short answer again to this, I like very much that particular sociological term, the missing hero, the hero who is acting only if he or she is realizing a problem. So and this is the position, I think, the artist, because there are so many similar questions: artist as curator, artist as social worker, artist as organizer, and so on. And the definition of artist of our age is maybe that would be the missing hero, the person who is working where other people are not working. And it's very close to the notion of art, that the artist has a different sensitivity. And yes, artists are having a different sensitivity, but it's not just in an aesthetical sense, but in a social and in a much broader sense as well, I think. So, anyone has one more urgent question? Yes, please.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for your presentations. And I'm very curious about the question of money, and how it's related to Crises and like what we're doing here also, like low budget. But all the international collaborations are extremely expensive when you write projects. So I'm just curious about your thoughts on how these precisely these international collaborations can operate sustainably within very limited financial situations, or maybe not even if it's limited, maybe we can, I don't know, find some kind of a different model which is segregated from that discourse at all. So, I don't know, I think it's for all of you. But, yeah.
It's probably the best question.
I again have no answers, concrete answers. I kind of decide intentionally to stay in the past, sort of. But I know I have no idea how this would be solved. But I can mention a couple of initiatives that have been sort of going on locally. They are again Yugocentric sort of. But so far they didn't have money. They again depend on EU funding, which they now got. But basically the idea is to kind of again organize a sustainable network. But for that again you need European money, because they are trying. So it's if you know about Clubture in Croatia, which is this network that's supposed to kind of help smaller organizations to gain ground, to be eligible for bigger funding, etc., etc., and decentralized culture outside of Zagreb. So this is the basic point. And then you have this bigger network that is supposed to do the same thing, but for the ex-Yugoslav region, with a tendency of growth to other Balkan countries. So they started it, it's been already, I think, 10 years, but they had money for it only 1 year. Now they're again trying. And the idea is basically to have this negotiation between all of the governments, national governments, to kind of have a steady fund between that would be supported by all of the governments and not just by EU money, because now, I mean, they depend if they gotta get it or not. That's.
If I may still add, or so in the context of this artist labor union or culture labor union of culture workers in Slovakia, which is very recent, the really focus is on improving the legal protections of culture workers, and not only those employed in institutions, which now kind of have really possibility for this strike to happen, but also for self-employed, so artists and culture workers, because these are mostly really invisible to the legal system. So I think this is really important, and also to set some kind of transparent fees system. Like to know, okay, for a talk in a large institution, it's fair to pay this amount. For a talk in a small NGO, it's fair to pay this amount. And to have some kind of idea what should be the fee? At least that. I mean, it's not that it will be paid every single time, but that everybody knows what the fee should be, and to have also more open conversations about the fees, basically.
I mean, I would actually propose as an old organizer